Hey, today I'm doing a great hike in the beautiful desert outside Scottsdale, Arizona, and I thought it would be a good time to read from Cheryl Strayed's mesmerizing memoir, Wild. She started her hike in the Mojave Desert in Southern California. So I'll start on page 122. After she'd hiked a great distance and neared Northern California, she found the mountainous area of the High Sierra was covered with snow because of an unusually strong snowfall that winter that had not melted by summer. So, page 122. I'm getting off at Trail Pass, I told Doug and Tom as we ate dinner that night. I'd hiked all day alone, logging my second 15-plus mile day, but caught up with them again as they made camp. I'm going to go up to Sierra City, get back on the trail there. We decided to push on, said Doug. We talked about it and think you should join us, said Tom. Join you? I asked, peering out from the tunnel of my dark fleece hood I was wearing, all the clothes I'd brought. The temperature down near freezing. Patches of snow surrounded us beneath the trees in spots shaded from the sun. It's not safe for you to go on alone, Doug said. Neither one of us would go alone, said Tom, but it's not safe for any of us to go into the snow, together or alone, I said. We want to try it, said Tom. Thank you, I said. I'm touched you'd offer, but I can't. Why can't you? Doug asked. Because the point of my trip is that I'm out here to do it alone. We were silent for a while then, eating our dinners, each of us cradling a warm pot full of rice or beans or noodles in our gloved hands. I felt sad to say no, not only because I knew it meant I was opting to bypass the High Sierra, but because as much as I said I wanted to do this trip alone, I was soothed by their company. Being near Tom and Doug at night kept me from having to say to myself, I am not afraid, whenever I heard a branch snap in the dark or the wind shook so fiercely it seemed something bad was about to happen. But I wasn't out here to keep myself from having to say, I am not afraid. I'd come, I'd realized, to stare that fear down. To stare everything down, really. All that I'd done to myself and all that had been done to me. I couldn't do that while tagging along with someone else. When she got back on the trail after bypassing the High Sierra portion, she expected it would be smooth sailing, but up at 7,000 feet in the peaks of southern Oregon, the trail was buried under snow, and she was afraid. She was lost, alone. As I hiked, the fragments of songs pushed their ways into the mixtape radio station in my head, interrupted occasionally by Paul's voice, telling me how foolish I'd been to trek into the snow like this alone. He would be the one who would do whatever had to be done, if indeed I didn't return. In spite of our divorce, he was still my closest kin, or at least the one organized enough to take on such a responsibility. I remembered him lambasting me as we drove from Portland to Minneapolis, when he'd plucked me out of the grips of heroin and my boyfriend Joe the autumn before. Do you know you could die? He said with disgust, as if he half wished I had so he could prove his point. Every time you do heroin, it's like you're playing Russian roulette. You're putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. You don't know which time the bullet's going to be in the chamber. I'd had nothing to say in my defense. He was right, though it hadn't seemed that way at the time. But walking along a path I carved myself, one I hoped was the Pacific Crest Trail, was the opposite of using heroin. The trigger I'd pulled in stepping into the snow made me more alive to my senses than ever. Uncertain as I was as I pushed forward, I felt right in my pushing, as if the effort itself meant something that perhaps being amidst the undesecrated beauty of the wilderness meant I too could be undesecrated, regardless of what I'd lost or what had been taken from me, regardless of the regrettable things I'd done to others or myself, or the regrettable things that had been done to me. Of all the things I had been skeptical about, I didn't feel skeptical about this. The wilderness had a clarity That included me. Cheryl Strayed, Wild.